Good evening, welcome to tonight's Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy, this is FailCraft Casts. Hope you are well and good. And we're going to be jumping in and doing some figurine arena. So, as always on Tuesday, we try and grab your votes on Twitter. See what class you want to pick. And it could have been a Warlock, a Druid, or a Warrior this week. And this week, it is Warriors. Warrior, what am I talking about? It's Druid. That's a great start, but without further ado, let's jump in past this very nicely decked out Druid. I cannot remember the name of that armor. I want to say Scenaris. And a good welcome to Black Cats and to Lud and to all of you folks who are joining. You are going to be picking. It is Druid today, so let us jump on in. So Druid, not too bad in the arena worlds. But let's remember we can ramp stuff with Druid and innovate. What kind of deck can we make? We could be throwing out big tanks. So card number one, let's fly straight in. So while you folks pick what you fancy before we play our drafting game, let's just remember what we do in our sort of very basic arena concepts. We do three things. One, we review our deck at regular times from 0 cards to 30. So we pick 3 points, say 10 cards, 17 cards and 23 cards, let's say. 3 points so you can review your deck at regular intervals, see how your cards are going, what kind of strategy you have. Number two, we look at the mana curve to see whether there's lots of early game cards and we're going early, late game cards and we're going late, just how the deck is coming together. And then the third thing we do is both look at the balance of minions and spells to get a feeling of how we're going to play the deck, and then count through the mana curve. Just check at every single mana drop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how our deck is looking, what kind of plays we can make. So in our first draft, we have the Crazed Alchemist, swap the hack, attack and health of a minion, great for science if you've got low attack, high health minions, for example. You can switch them around to do damage. Master, at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to this minion and summon a 1/1 in before swarming. And then last but not least, the Questing Adventurer. Whenever you play a card, gain 1/1, we have a draw in your votes. So Master will let us swarm. Questing Adventurer could let us make a very, very big and nasty minion that's hard to remove. I am going to go, for the time being, we can have a Savage Roar. Potentially, that could go well with Master. Let's remember Druid cards. Questing Adventurer, we can play lots of small cards, maybe small cards to draw cards. I'm going to go on this occasion with the Master, maybe the Questing. We'll see what happens next. So next, the Mogushan Warden. That's the perfect card to go with Science, the Alchemist that we were talking about before, because you can change it from 1/7 to 7/1. Savage Roar. And welcome to Tiv as well, joining us too. So Mogushan is just a big tank, but it's not going to be doing loads of damage, but it is going to be swinging in and blocking things up for a while. Savage Roar, giving your characters +2 attack this turn. Well, actually, that doesn't go too bad with our Imp Master or other cards if we can stuff the table full of things. Savage Roar, a nice finisher. And then last but not least, the Razorfen Hunter, the Battle Cry of summoning a 1/1 boar. So that's a 2-for-1. Interesting. The vote is currently with the Razorfen Hunter, and it looks like we have a majority. Razorfen Hunter being a 2-for-1 card. Interesting enough, the Savage Roar, it's a nice finisher, but we need characters on the table, we need minions on the table to be able to give them 2 attack and get the most effect from it. So the Razorfen Hunter is a 2-for-1 solid trading card. That can remove some minions. That goes down. Next is the Dalaran Mage, either a Healing Touch or a Gnomish Inventor. So Dalaran Mage, spell damage of +1, low attack, health is okay. It will stick around for a little bit, giving that +1 effect before it disappears. Not bad if you throw taunts, similar things on it. Next up, we've got Healing Touch. Very, very simply, just restore 8 health. Never a bad thing to have a heal or 2, so that could be an option for you. And then last but not least, Gnomish Inventor. Again, low attack to the health for the mana cost, but you get a card draw as well, and a universal vote for card draw. Card draw in card games is good. Card draw in arena when you're not able to pick your cards for your card draw, not able to construct your bet, even better. So we have Swipe, Mark of Nature and Elven Archer for our pick. Swipe, 4 damage to an enemy, 1 damage to all others, great clearance. Mark of Nature, a minion 4 attack, 4 health and taunt, making something big and scary, but for 3 mana. And then Elven Archer. Battlecry of dealing 1 damage. As a 1/1 minion, it's not going to do loads before it gets removed, but it could ping something for 1. Could do something interesting. And with the votes going with Swipe, unless, yep, and an SWP. Shadow Word Pain. Swipe. Any kidding. That means Swipe. I'm loving the shorthandness. Next. And Frost Wolf Grunt. SWP is always my acronym for Shadow Words. So, Frostwolf Grunt, Goldshire Footman, and a Wisp. If Zano was here, he would love a Wisp. Frostwolf Grunt is just a solid 2/2/2 tank for its costs. The Goldshire Footman can go down turn 1. And is a similar, but slightly lower stats, but a cheap first turn drop. And then the Wisp. So, looks as though we have a draw. We have a Grunt. There we go. So the Grunt's a bit more solid than the Goldshire, but of course you can't drop it turn 1, so a reasonable check's there. Wild Growth, ooh, nice for ramping, getting of a mana crystal there. The Storm Knight, and then also Soul of the Forest. You don't see that massively often. So Wild Growth, seen in constructed, laddered, regular, built Druid decks. Gaining an empty mana crystal, that will let you ramp. It will let you spend some mana to get further ahead the next turn. So on turn 2, I spend 2 mana on an empty mana crystal, then I have 3 mana crystals, and then the next turn I have 4. It is speeding up the rate at which I can play cards. So short-term loss because you spend the money on it, but then longer-term gain. Next up, Storm and Knight. You get a charge. Your attack is low, but you have higher health. You sometimes have charging cards that have high attack and low health, so that is just the opposite. It will get in and do something. And then Soul of the Forest. Give your minions Death Rattle, summon a 2/2 Taunt. If you have a full board, then Soul of the Forest is kind of nasty. If everything dies, everything comes back alive again, and Treants hit the board. We need Pyroblast. That could be tough. Now, I'm no expert at Hearthstone, but I don't think that Druids use Pyroblast. Wild Growth gets the vote, so you guys liking the mana flexibility that offers. Next, we have a Savage Roar. We have an Iron Forge Rifleman, and a Raging Worgen. So Savage Roar we've already covered, giving our characters +2 this turn. Again, could be a finishing option if we've got minions on the table. And of course the Force of Nature, Savage Roar, the one that summons your Treants, and then you Savage Roar them on top. The Iron Forge Rifleman, a Elven Archer, but just a bit bigger. You get the 1 damage for the Battle Cry, and for 3 mana, 2 attack, 2 health. So that may trade something. And then the Raging Worgen, a pretty solid card if you can get 1 damage on it, because then it gets Wind Fury and 1 attack, so it can be swinging for 8. But it looks as though the votes are going with the Roar. The Savage Roar. Is everyone going to be savagely roaring? Worgen to be different. I love it. Black Cat Hamlet not playing by anyone's rules, not even their own. To be or not to be, Savage Roar is to be. Next, I have a Fairy Dragon. Ooh, it's the battle of the brilliant solid early game cards here. Chillwind Yeti and a Loot Hoarder. So the Fairy Dragon, you cannot be targeted by anything apart from minions slamming into it, or perhaps a hero slamming into it with a weapon. No spells, no hero powers, but that is just a really nice solid pick. Early game, 2/3/2, that will trade something before it dies, or you can ping away at your opponent for some early game damage. Chillwind Yeti, well, the brilliant basic that we talk about. You can get this straight off the bat, and 4 attack, 5 health, just for 4 mana you're going to be swinging in, and that's going to be doing some damage. Maybe you can tank it up, it could trade some minions, it will stick around for a while, so all in all just solid. Last but not least, a Loot Hoarder. What you lose in early game health you make up for in the Death Rattle of drawing a card. So Loot Hoarder will let you draw a card and maybe do 2 damage to something before it passes away. And the vote has narrowly gone with Yeti, but there was a very strong case for the Fairy also. Next, ooh, this is an interesting pick. I think we know how this might go. But a Young Dragonhawk, a Druid of the Claw, and an Iron Forge Rifleman. So the Dragonhawk, it is a Wind Furying, doing 2 before it passes away. 1 health that may not even survive. The Druid of the Claw, such a wonderful, solid card. It can be a charging 4/4, or it can be a tanking 4/6, depending on what you like. And then last but not least, the Iron Forge that we've covered. And you folks on Twitch, in your wisdom, I think are going to be jumping in. Yes, we see that there, and there is a unanimous vote for the Claw. Good choice, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Mana Addict, Keeper of the Grove, and the Questing Adventurer again. Questing Adventurer I overlooked in a deciding vote, so if there's a deciding vote, if it's all even, then the Questing Adventurer will get the nod. Mana Addict, whenever you cast a spell, gain 2. We don't have... Well, we've only got 1 spell, so maybe not huge use for that. Keeper of the Grove. Deal 2 or silence minion, a staple in many constructed Druid decks. And then last but not least, the Questing Adventurer. Whenever you play a card, gain 1/1. Play lots of cheap cards, get a big minion, but the vote has gone with Keeper. So we shall go for Keeper. Jungle Panther. No. Oh, what is it with the Ironforge Rifleman? What is this? He's back. He's like the Terminator. He will never ever go away. I'll be back. And he's back again in our draw. Stormpike, Battlecry of Dealing 2, a buffed up Ironforge Rifleman, if you want to call it that. Pick him! Folk in chat live on Twitch admiring the persistence of our Ironforge Rifleman. He just won't go away. Stormpike, slightly low health for the mana cost. Reasonable attack, but 2 damage on the Battlecry. A Jungle Panther, and I had loads of eye for an eye in my Paladin draft. That could be quite funny. Okay, so people seem to have gone with Panther. Panther, okay, stealthing. It only has 2 health, but we will do some work with it. So next, it's a Frost Elemental, a Poison Seeds. I believe that's the next Ramus card, isn't it? Or a Corehound. The Frost Elemental, Battlecry of freezing a character. Well, that can be useful. We can freeze away certain threats. Poison Seeds, destroying all minions and then summoning 2/2 Treants to replace them. That is our clearance. Or could be our clearance if you folks pick it. Nasty minions on the table, throw down Poison Seeds. Get rid of Ragnarosses. Is that a plural? Ragnarai. We'll go for something vaguely Latin sounding. And then the Corehound. Well, for... Oh no! Oh! I just fail clicked. I'm sorry. That was an accident. Oh no. Moving swiftly on. I do apologise. I didn't want the Corehound. We didn't want the Corehound. Next. Bloodfen Raptor. Let's quickly pass over that embarrassing moment. So pick your own arena and then Hammy just randomly clicks cards. Okay, so the Bloodfen Raptor, the Stranglethorn Tiger or the Oasis. The Stranglethorn Tiger or the Oasis Snapjaw. So the Bloodfen Raptor, a solid 2/3/2. That will do damage and pressure in the early game. Not much to say about that. Nice and solid. The Fail. Yep, you made it. And welcome, Umbra Domo. It's great to have you with us. Stranglethorn Tiger, 5/5/5. So very nice, solid stats. And with the stealth, it's going to kick around until you choose to attack. And then last but not least, the Oasis Snapjaw. Fans of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Oasis Snapjaw generally best if you can switch its health and attack, or give it a tank of some description. Give it a nice, solid Sun Fury Protector or Defender of Argus, something that gives it that Taunt status, because it's got big health. There's a Bloodfen, Oasis, possibly a vote for Tiger. We're just split straight across the board. A cutie face or a surprised look. So what do we have going on? We have debates about what OO is. OWO. I think Umbra is the deciding vote. Pick a card, Umbra. You are the decider. No pressure. What do you want? Everyone going for all the things. The Oasis Snapjaw. Ah, Trigger. T-I-double-G-R. I'm thinking Trigger. Trigger it is. Trigger. Is that only Fools and Horses? Next. We have a Naturalize. A Wild Growth. And a Frostwolf Warlord. Okay, Naturalize. Destroy a minion your opponent draws 2. Okay, if you're very mana efficient for getting rid of some nasty minion, but does that 2 draw that your opponent gets give them a bit of an advantage? Wild Growth, we've already got 1. Do you guys want another one? Don't really need to explain that too much. More ramping ability. And then the Frostwolf Warlord, just an overall solid choice. Throwing that down, gain 1/1 for each other friendly minion on the battlefield. It will become a mid-game force if you have cards on the table already. So while you guys decide, we're going to quickly review our deck so far. We've gone past 10 cards. So what do we have at the moment? We've got kind of a bunch from 2 to 5 mana. Maybe just my accidental Corehound in the late game. So at the moment we're looking mid-gamey. If we then take a look at what kind of minions to spell balance we have, well, I think we're fairly well represented. We've got a Growth, a Roar, a Swipe. We've got so 3 spells compared to our 10 minions. And then when we look at our play order through the deck to work out how we might be playing this, well, in the early game we might want to be more wild growth into ramp into minions. Savage Roar can be a finisher if we want. The Frostwolf can slow the game down. Imp Master, we can get a lot of imps perhaps on the table to Savage Roar with. The Jungle Panther, Razorfin Hunter, we can fill the table and make trades. Swipe can help us control. Chillwind Yeti, Gnomish will help us trade or get table presence. Gnomish Inventor draws. And then we have Grove for control or damage. Druid of the Claw is a tank, Strangleform Tiger. So we've got quite a nice solid core of a deck, but at the moment the only real clue that we have is that we're looking at this point in time mid-game just because of the card picks. And welcome to Xano. You missed the wisp. Maybe there'll be another. Okie dokie, so we have wild growth, growth, or growth. Growth. Yeah, everyone is going for the ramp option. So next for growth. So at the moment, about 13 cards in, we're thinking of some kind of rampy option. Good point by Umbra Okie dokie, we have a Mark of Nature. Our only clue at the moment, another Savage Roar. Wow, or a Starfire. I see that D. Michaelis, a Manchester City soccer or football reference. Okay, so Mark of Nature, we've already covered 3 mana for a pretty solid buff on one of our minions. We can make something nasty with that if we wanted. Savage Roar, we could be going for a crazy roaring. If we can somehow fill the table, then we can do more roaring. We've already got 1. Do we want to go 2? Really commit to trying to fill the table with minions and Savage Roar as a finisher? Up to you guys. And then Starfire, deal 5, draw a card. Well, solid yet expensive control with a bit of card draw on the top. Starfire, should have married Robin. Mark, I like stars, so star. A fair enough point from Tiv. Why not? It's entirely up to you. We don't need reasons. This doesn't have to be scientific. At the moment we're with Starfire. Anyone for anything else? Starfire, of course, being a nice control. But yeah, expensive. You do get the card draw. So you have options. However you may be liking. Okay, to keep things moving, the Starfire is. And the next, the River Crocodile, the Iron Cow, and the Wind Fury Harpy. Real Croc, solid early game card, slightly high health. We'll trade some stuff, then perish. Iron Cow, a silence. We don't have silencers at the moment. Silencers can be handy. The Owl will pass away with its 1 health, but it will silence something before it does, and that could be fabulous. And then last but not least, the Wind Fury Harpy. Wind Fury meaning that it can swing twice in 1 turn, attack twice in 1 turn after it's been summoned and all done. So that is all well and good. Do we want an early game minion, a cheeky little silence, or perhaps a Wind Fury Harpy? Silence. There is a vote for silence. I can see where Umber is coming from. Also Owl. A lone vote for the Croc. Owl has got the nod for the silence. Next, ooh, shinies. We have a Mountain Giants, Shade of Nexramus, Blood Knight. So the Mountain Giant costs 1 for each, less for each other card in your hand. You do tend to have a bit of a bigger hand in Arena. Maybe the Giant can come into play. Shade of Nax is just nasty, because you throw it down. Nax hype. Xano getting involved with a vote there. If they can't remove it, then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they can flare and remove it, or somehow do enough area of effect tableside damage to remove it. So if you don't get rid of it early, it gets nasty. And then Blood Knight, Battle Cry. All minions lose Divine Shield and gain 3/3 for each shield lost. A universal vote for the Shade, so maybe we're going to be getting that in as a nasty taunting card. Healing Touch, Claw, Wrath. Healing Touch, Restore 8. Not much to say about that. Heals are good. Claw, give your hero 2 attack and 2 armor. Well, we could use that to just do a delicate sort of attack. Of course, we can then use the hero power and do 3 attack. So Claw will let us remove a minion probably, or reach out to do the finishing damage on something. So Wrath, 3 damage to a minion, 1 damage and draw a card. That is Druid early game control. but also gives you the option of drawing a card too. Roth, however you would like to pronounce it. It has got your unanimous, I believe, vote. And with that, here we go. We have a Magma Rager, a Grimscale Oracle, or a Voodoo Doctor. You guys wonder why I'm jumping in and moving on it, so we can play some games and see what your deck has been doing, and also because if we have a majority of votes, then we will take the decision. So the Magma Ranger, 5-1. Oh, the Murloc votes are coming in. So Magma Ranger 5-1, that can get removed quite easy. If it does have somehow stay alive, it can do 5 damage. The Grimscale Oracle, all Murlocs have 1 attack, fabulous if you have Murlocs, but we don't. And last but not least, the Voodoo Doctor. We have Umbra Domo, we have a Voodoo Doctor, Doxus Tiv. Okay, everyone likes the battle cry of restoring 2 health. It will probably die, but it will restore to health. Ooh. I'm going to the next. I'm waiting to see. I'm not going to spoil this. I'm going to wait for the little bit of lag that we have above Deathwing, says Lud. If only. I'm just going to wait for the stream to catch up. I'm not going to type this in the chat straight away. And there's a hilarious choice. There we go. The stream has caught up. So now I'm going to type it in and see the eye-opening legendaries. It is not Deathwing. So we have Fugen, Natpale, and Nozdormu, which could be hilarious. So Fugen, if Stalag also died this game, some Thaddeus, well, we're very unlikely to get Stalag. Fugen is the 4/7 Black Cat Hamlet. Nat Pagel, at the start of your turn you've got a 50% chance to draw an extra card. Hard to remove. If we hit him down on the table, then we can potentially draw some more cards, which is fab. Nozdormu, players only have 15 seconds to take their turns. That is just speeding the game up. Oh dear. 1, 2 votes. 2 votes for Nozdormu. Oh, you dragon fans. Well, this is a democracy, and in the democracy, Nozdormu is one. So next we have a Sunwalker, a Cold Light Oracle, and an Azure Drake. We're going to have a fun deck. You guys, I cannot wait to get Nozdormu down. We have to get it down at least once. That'll be so funny. So while you guys are trying to pick your next, we'll do another deck review. Okay, we're now at 20 cards, and you can see we're still got a very strong 2 mana, 5 mana presence. So number 1, let's review the mana curve. Looks as though we're looking early to midish game, controlling some minions and maybe some late game finishes. Jump in, take a look at spells against minions ratio just to understand a bit about how our deck's built. A couple of wild growths, 2 spells, 3 spells, 4 spells with a raw, 5 spells with a swipe, 6 spells with a starfire. So 14 minions, 6 spells, so we can do a bunch of stuff. Then we have the final thing that we always do of reading through the deck, looking through each mana stage 1 through 7+, and seeing how the deck might play. Well, early game we do have control with Wrath. We can very much wild growth. We've got a couple of wild growths, so we can probably ramp, particularly if we grab some innovates. We do have early game minions to cover us. The Grunt will stall. The Owl is really more of a silence. Immaster will flood the board. Panther and Hunter will let us trade in the early game, and we can always get down a Shade of Naxxramas to start threatening the opponent's board, beg pardon me. Swipe will let us control in the early to mid game too. And then with the Yeti, Gnomish Inventor and Grove, and Druid of the Claw, we've got both a combination of control, tanks, and very solid minions to transition us into the mid game. These can be attacking and doing us damage also. Don't forget we could drop those in Savage Roar for some pretty savage damage. Starfire will give us control, Stranglethorn and Tiger will give us some attacking options, and with a Corehound and Nozdormu, if we do get to the late game, the Corehound was an accident, but Nozdormu will be just hilarious. So I think we're at the moment looking to try and control the board with minions and a couple of spells in the early game, ramp if we can into bigger, stronger minions, and then finish the game in the mid to late game at this stage. It'll be very unlikely we get Nozdormu out. So what is your vote between these 3? Sunwalker, really solid, tanking, divine shielded option. Next to Cold Light Oracle, each player drawing 2 cards, risky, but accelerates us. And then the Azure Drake, an overall solid drop. It's got solid attack stats and health stats. The spell damage will benefit us for a couple of spells, and then with a battle cry of drawing a card we'll get that benefit too. So we have a vote for Drake, 1 for Drake, 1 for Walker, 1 for Oracle, 2 for Sunwalker. Yes, I know. Fair one today. Did you pick Corehound by accident? How did you know? Okay, Sunwalker gets the votes. Umbradomo and Zano coming in with Tiv also voting for a Walker. Next, we have a Fairy Dragon, Healing Touch, and a Storm and Knight. So we've actually covered all of these cards already. So the real question is, do you want early game pressure with the Fairy Dragon? Do you want a healing backup option with the Healing Touch? Or Storm and Knight for that little charge? More dragons! Daenerys Targaryen. Cool in Chicago. I was watching Source Code. Me and my half watching Source Code last night. Chicago-tastic. Fairy Dragons. I want Baby Dragon. 3 of you. Early game Dragonage it is. Next we have a River Croc and Rhubarb Weblord. Or Gurubashi Berserker. So the Croc we've covered. The Rhubarb Weblord minions with Battle Cry cost 2 more. That can really mess up, pardon me, some decks. How many Battle Cries do we have though? Taking a look at our deck. Battle Cry, Battle Cry, Battle Cry, Battle Cry. Yeah, so that could probably hurt us a bit. And then the Gurubashi Berserker, well, hey, in mid-game, that could be a real threat. The more damage it gets, the more damage it does. It will be putting on pressure, 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 pressure. Charge minions are like missiles. Absolutely they are. And there's a Croc and a Rube Berserker. Zana coming in with a decisive intervention, as always. It may be, maybe not decisive on this occasion. Being the black sheep. The random odd sheep out. The sheep of the flock. Who cares about early game? Right, we've got a vote for Croc, a vote for Narub, a couple for Croc, Berserker. Yeah, okay. It sounds like we're going for a Croc. And goes the Croc. Oh, just a second too late. I do apologise, Umbra. That would have been a drawn pick, and if it was a drawn pick, I would have gone for the Berserker. So next we've got the Acolyte of Pain, the River Crocolisk. Oh, and I'm going to tease this in the chat because the Wisp is option 3. I'm going to prepare for the inevitable. Wisp. Acolyte. Tiv fights back. Tiv is fighting the tide. The tide of Wisp hype. I know there are going to be at least 2 Wisp votes. I'm divisive, not decisive. Acolyte. Ooh, votes for Acolyte. Okay. Wisp. Second Croc. Oh, we've got a draw between Acolytes and Wisps. Oh, I'm going to make an unpopular decision. Acolyte of Pain. Ooh, Nooska. Decisive intervention there. Nooska arriving and denying the Wisp. 3 vote, 1 Wisp wins by 1. Okay, so next we have a Shattered Sun Cleric, a Reckless Rocketeer, the new Leroy Jenkins, ladies and gentlemen, and Zombie Chow. Shattered Sun Cleric seen in so many constructed rushy decks. In Zoo, as well as other things. Give a friendly minion 1/1. As solid enough in terms of its stats. Will trade something away, and then the buff lets you power up a minion so you can ideally make a good trade. You will get something more for less. And with the denial of a Wisp, Zana goes into the distance. Reckless Rocketeer charges in, does damage, a bit of pressure. And then last but not least, Zombie Chow. Great in the early game, but of course with that death rattle of restoring 5 health to the enemy hero, you're using Zombie Chow to get table position rather than charging into your enemy's face. Cleric, 3 Clerics, just the 1 Rocketeer. But Cleric gets the vote. Indeed, we're very early game focused, as Nooska has... Stay and mock me for the fails that come. So next we have an Iron Becal, a Dragon Ling Mechanic, Stormwind Champion. The Iron Becal silences. The Dragon Ling Mechanic is a 2/4/1. very simply. We can do Tufa, and then also with the health, it'll kick around, and then Stormwind Champion, maybe that late game finisher that we are craving, giving you another minions 1-1 with 6/6 in its own right will mean that it will really, really buff up the whole board and give us some opportunity to put some pressure down on the table. Champions, the Stormwind Champion votes coming out for the late game. Some nice support coming in there. Hail to the Chief. It looks like Dragoning contains dragon. I'm loving people who like dragons or voting for dragons. The owl will be good, but as I said, late game. Stormwind Champion gets the nod. And for those of you who are joining and not signed into Twitch, why not sign into Twitch? It's free, you can vote for cards. Come join the chat, we do not bite. Some people may occasionally nibble. And then with Archmage, the spell damage +1, well, it will stick around for a while with that heavy 7 health. And for attack, don't underestimate it. It's a reasonable, tradey minion. Cultmaster, whenever one of your other minion styles draw a card, well, for 4/2, there's a chance that Cultmaster will get removed, but it will give us card draw. And then last but not least, the Razorfen Hunter. That is another 2-for-1. The battle cry of summoning a 1/1 boar. Have we got one of those already? Yeah, we do. If you wanted to go for some more. Cults. Draining. Hunter for broad presence. Who doesn't like dragons? Looks as though Cult Master is currently in the lead. Anyone else for anything else? We are almost there. 4 more cards, then we'll get in a couple of games. And then that will be our Hunter. Oh, Cult, Hunter. The Hunter. We need a ooze. It would be good if we had an ooze. A deciding vote is required, otherwise I shall have to do it. Anyone? Cult Master or Hunter seems to be the choice. Everyone rejecting the Archmage en masse. Hunter, cults. It looks as though I get to choose. Oh, unless Lud comes in, I'm going to get to choose. So I'm going to think Cult Master or Razorfen Hunter. I think we could really annoy people with the Razorfen. Autocorrects. Do not worry about the autocorrects. I cannot type half the time anyway. I believe in your choice. So much faith. I hope it's not misguided. Let's have a think. Okay, well, we've got so much in terms of 3 drops. Let's go for a Cult Master. Next, we've got a Blood Cell Raider, a Chillwind Yeti, for more nasty pressure, and a Booty Bay Bodyguard. So none of these we've had before. We don't have a weapon, so the Raider is not going to give us any effect for that Battle Cry, but it's not a bad early game drop. The Yeti is just solid. And Booty Bay Bodyguard, well, you do not have huge health, but you've got slightly more attack, so it's a bit of a weird tag, that one. It's kind of an inverted, slightly more expensive in some ways Tazdingo. We've got 3 cards left to go, and Zano is calling for ooze. We would love an ooze. Ooze would make this deck complete, I feel. Nice and solid. Yeti's getting voting for its solid BBB, the Booty Bay Bodyguard. I'm loving the acronymage from Niska. So Yeti, minorly in the lead for its just overall solidness. I only see 2 taunts. That's very true. We do only have the Frosthawk Grunt, and I believe we've got a Sunwalker as well. If we just look a bit further down, we do have the Sunwalker and Druid, so we do have 3 taunts. There's nothing wrong with more taunts. The Booty Bay Bodyguard, we've got 2 for Yeti, and we've got, a triple in on the BBB. The BBC Guard. British Broadcasting. Oh, a Scottish referendum joke. For those of you outside the UK, you may not understand what the fuss is. For those of you inside the UK, it's all going to be over soon. It has taken over the news for so long. Next, Thrallmar, Ironbark Protector, Fairy Dragon. So, I can't. Thrallmar Farseer, even I can't even type. Who was talking about autocorrect? So the Thrallmar Farseer, Wind Fury, you can tap twice for it. The Ironbark Protector is just solid as, and the Fairy Dragon, for those fans of dragons, will be very, very chuffed with that. Oh, Ironbark, I've got, see 1 for Ironbark, I see More taunts. More taunts. Bark. More taunts. Okay. Protector. Lovely choice. Loving your work. And next, ooh, very nice. And for our last pick, we have a Sludge Belcher. Gadgets and Auctioneer. Miracle Druid. No, Wailing Soul. Okay, so the Belcher gives us yet another tank. You guys wanted tanks. Tanks are being delivered to you in spades. And then last but not least, the Gadgets and well, secondly, okay. And then the Wailing Soul. So Gadgets and Auctioneer, we can throw down spells. We do have a few spells, not loads of cheap ones either. It's a solid body in its own right, but we can get some card draw maybe. Cheap spells, not loads of cheap spells here. Gadgets hand into a Wild Growth. And then the Wailing Soul, silencing all of our other minions. I don't think we really want to do that. Belcher, 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 more taunts. Gadgets and Auctioneer if we have enough spells, otherwise Belcher. Yep, the Belcher gets it. Lovely. Oh, that's a nasty deck we've drafted. Okay, deck review, then let's go for a few games. So this deck looks very dragony and taunty, comments Lid, and I think we will agree. So let's take a look at our mana curve. We've got an exceptionally strong early to mid game. We can be trading with minions, and we can in the early to mid game, if we can survive, we do have minions to control the board. We've got spells, and then we've got a very solid late game as well. We do have some big finishes, and at this rate, we might even play Nozdormi. Arena generally has a bit of an earlier mana curve. You'll find that basically because it's harder to get to the late game, harder to control the game, sometimes people pack with early to mid. Only one drop, says Nuska, very true. We're not going to be doing great on turn 1. But if we take a look in the early game, we do have Wrath to control. We can ramp up with Wild Growth, so we've got no other options. We've got a series of early minions that will be sticky on the board and certainly mean that we can interrupt our opponent, if not start going on the offensive. Fairy Dragon and Grunt. Damage and tanking. The Croc will stick to the board for a while and we can trade. Acolyte to draw. Impmaster, Jungle Panther to damage. Impmaster to get presence. Razorfen for sticking to the table. Shade of Nex could put down a lot of pressure too. Shattered Sun. So really strong minions. Whatever we pick, we should be able to trade minions or cause our opponents some problems. So if we can keep the board under control until 4 or 5 mana, we can see Swipe, Yeti hitting the table, Cult Master for card draw, Gnomish for card draw, Grove for silence and damage, and then our nasty tanks start hitting the table. Booty Bay Bodyguard, Druid of the Claw, Sludge Belcher. At 5 we can just wall off our opponent for a few turns before attacking with Stranglethorn. Starfire is controlling the late game. Another tank in the Sunwalker is going to be absolutely amazing. There we go. So Corehound was an accidental pick. Corehound is like the Failhound. Corehound is the visible evidence of fail by me. And then Stormwind Champion, Ironbark Protezza, and Nozdormu of all things. We've got an interesting late game finishes there. Right, without further ado, oh hang on, I'm just going to try and see. I can't screen the whole deck. Okay, I'm not going to screen the deck. You guys know what's in it? Oh, that's very kind of you, Nuska. Yeah, if you share this stuff, if you have a good time, bring your pals, and together you can mock my incompetence at clicking Corehounds and making Twitch plays, Twitch reaction plays. Okay, so we want early game minions. We have the Croc, we've got a Chill and Yeti, a Panther, we've got Savage Roar. That's not awful. We don't have a 1-drop, but we are going seconds. Savage Roar, I think I'm going to throw back the Roar. We've got a nice curve that goes through there, so let's try and get a bigger one. An Iron Beak Cow. No. Okie dokie. Ooh, a Druid mirror match, so let's see what we can get into here. Okay, so the coin. Well, we can coin into something. Do I want to coin into a Croc? That would be hyper aggressive. I could coin into a Yeti in a few turns. I'm going to save and see if we can Okay, turn 2, well we can growth. Shall I start ramping? Ooh, ramp related hype. Could go into a chill and Yeti. That could be quite fun. Could just get table presence, what do you reckon? I'm going to go for a ramp. Let's see how ramping actually works. That means next turn we can throw down a Yeti. Well, growth into the Yeti instead, says Niska. I'm so glad that even with that stream lag, I've made a decision that you're agreeing with. Yay, and down goes the Yeti. Insta Yeti. Hi, friends. So this is what we're liking. This is quite a nice start. We've got a nice hand. We've still got our coin. We've managed to wild growth even on turn 2, which is a lot of ramp druids would be very, very excited by that in ladder, let alone in this situation. Down goes a raptor. So he is not going to be able to trade straight up, but we are going to be able to start slowly picking these off the table. He's going to take our Yeti in a couple. We could Starfire. That would be really aggressive. Should we Starfire or should we keep the Starfire? That's what I'm trying to think. Well, we can silence away. Next turn you have Stranglethorn. Okay, so let's have a think. What is the play here? Now he can take my Yeti. Am I trying to save my Yeti at all costs? Or I could just drop a Belcher. That would be pretty solid. Silence, not going to hugely benefit. It will reduce this by 1. I can tee this away. I could throw down a couple of minions and get really evil table control. SF is, yeah, Starfire is a bit too much, very, very true. I think that the Belcher, yeah, is a solid table play, and then we can remove the Direwolf House Stark. Let's get rid of the Direwolf House Stark. Winter is coming. It's still next turn, down next turn, silence. Very true. Ooh, a Starfall. 5, there's the pain, goes down. Then that comes up, he can trade it away and still have 1 health left on that Raptor. So a nice play. How about Moon Starfire? You guys are just making up new cards now. Okay, so again, Starfire is way too much. I can reach out with this. I think that would be a nice option. I'm going to control with this. I'm going to get evil, throw down the Shade of Necks. Now I can still keep the coin for a little bit. It was a big play. I'm quite happy if he used Starfall to get rid of that. Now I could coin into another minion, but I think that I'm just going to keep it like this. I might be able to coin into, say, Nozdormu, which would be hilarious. Or perhaps the Ironbark Protector, of course. Don't forget we've got that. So it should be quite amusing. Welcome to all of those new folk joining us. Why do you not come and join and sign into Twitch and be merry? Come and have a chat. So you join us in the midst of our Pick Your Own Arena. The folks live have just picked a quite nice Druid deck, I have to say, and we are now going live into it. Hero power into the Raptor. Shapeshift. Ooh, kidoki. So he's just attacking to the face, and there goes the Shade. It's going to be powering up. Okay, so we have some options. I quite like the tanking option. I think that sticking up a wall would be quite nice for us. There's no need to Starfire. I could be throwing down additional minions to trade this away. Could hero power this away. I think that throwing down a Druid is fine. And claw that up. The Croc will help us remove this. So for the time being, I'm just going to keep on attacking with the Yeti. My card, you guys voting your own cards would be a little bit. So here we go. Hey, very, very kind of you, and really appreciate it. Said, you know, if you enjoy, it says it's just nice coming and chat with all of you. So really appreciate all of your shares. Okay, so we have Argent Squire becoming a bit of a wrecking ball with the Direwolf Alpha, and he is really gunning for that Yeti. He's not happy with that Yeti whatsoever. Merciless persecution of the Yeti. But we have trade options. There's still more House Stark. Oh, Umbra Domu saying, I sense is seeds coming. There is no Ironbark. So let's have a think of what we can do. Well, he's removed one of his Star Fires, or Star Falls. He could have a Star Fire. Could be removing that core hand. But I'm just going to start doing sensible trades, I think. So I think that the hero power in... I kind of want to keep this shade for as long as possible. But... if I keep it for too long, he could remove it and start removing the worth of it. So, options. I will hero power. I'm going to trade away that direwolf. Remember to clear the direwolf first, says Nuska. Eat the Doge. The Doge has been eaten. So many cards. Yeah, eating the Doge with the Croc. That's a good call. Now do I go for 2 drops? There's no real need for me to silence. I could just Panther into a Shattered Sun Cleric. I'm going to keep that on the table. Now do I want to charge forward with anything? I'm going to risk it. Hero power, clear board, coin hound. Yeah, Croc, Wolf, HP into the Squire. Did I fail to attack with my hero power? No, I went for double drops. Ooh, down goes a Beauty Bay Bodyguard. That's showing in itself how it's going to be nasty. We've got one of those, remember. It's just not showing up when we need it. So he's gone for the almost removal, now removal, 2 down. And then we've got a 5/5. Well, we can not quite. I think here would be our Enter Starfire, or we could just silence it away. The unloved, unwanted, fail 2. Right, so do we silence? Do we just remove this with the JP? Bit of Jungle Panther. Should we go for the Core Hound? Starfire, the Beauty Bay Bodyguard. Let's do it. Oh, I got a Wrath. Oh, lovely. I think I'm going to go for Fairy. I'm going to commence the wrecking. Now we're going to hit it. A Core Hound with a point to prove. This Core Hound has a backstory. Abandoned, left on the bench for the entire of the season. Showed initial promise, forgotten, but is going to come as the saving hero in glory at the end of this game, and that is looking like a good game. Nice one, Team FailCraft chat stream. Oh, well played. Oh, and there's Nuska's Ironbark. A turn too late. Oh, the Core Hound's still been left on the bench. So nice game, guys. That was beautiful stuff. And good job. So draft number 1, game number 1 coming in nice. So we should be able to squeeze in just maybe a game or 2 more before the end of this. So a very promising start. I'm just going to touch wood, touch my head, and all kinds of things. So that was nice. So our deck, you know, our theory as we were drafting it together is the cards you guys were picking. Loot the Hounds, says Umbra Domo. It was loot the doggies in my guild when we were in Molten Core, and always forgetting to loot the Core Hounds. So our early game pressure has been working well. We're playing a mage, so Wrath will let us control the Shattered Sun Cleric is good. I'm going to trade back the Stormwind Champion and the Cult Master in favour of, hey, look at that, a brilliant mulligan again. We're going second, we've got a coin, and we've got really, really nice early game drops for pretty much any situation. So loving that. Down goes a Mana Worm, and do you know what? Do we want to coin into removal? Are we going to go hyper aggro? I'm actually going to go hyper aggro now. I'm going to Wrath that straight off the table. A bit of Wrath before that gets a chance to get big. He's a mage, and mages will throw down spells. So nice. The deck you picked, as I was saying before, while we wait for this mage to take their turn, really does a good job of having a lot of early to mid game minions, and it's working. First game. Let's not count our chickens, but it's looking promising. So down this goes. Spells are costing 1 less. I can't remove that. I've already used my coin, so that's my bad. But I'm going to offer the trade in the form of the Frostwolf Grunt. So if there is not a Frostbolt sitting in there, then... Oh, Fireball. Wow. hey, if he's using a fireball, he either has a lot of fireballs or he really wants to keep that card alive. Do you know what? I'm happy either way. Down goes the Razor Fin. We're going to offer another trade. And hopefully we can actually remove... oh, Arcane Missiles. 1, 2, 3. Well, down goes the ball. But we still have a trading option, unless there's another spell. Maybe a Frostbolt going down. Gnomish Inventor plays into the card draw. And then I'm probably going to see a hit to the face, because he knows that will get removed. A Fireball on my minion. Hyper-aggressive. Get ham-wrecked. I'm loving that. Right, Acolyte of Pain will let us draw. We can start building up the threat with the Shade, or we can start getting nasty with a friendly minion 1-1ing. Even if we buff this to 4, we're going to take 3, it'll get removed with a Fireball next go. No point in doing that. The Shade will let us draw more. The Imp Master will help us start to get table presence and start being generally annoying. Do we like being generally annoying? Yes. Okie dokie. Cleric, says Muska, but it's not. It's only going to survive to get removed for 1 if he decides to cost the 2 mana. I'm tempted, but then the Cleric will get traded by that with 1 to spare. Yeah, I think a Shade's a very smart option. Either way, that's going to power up unless he can do some area effect damage on this turn, which I do not think that they can. For 2, Blizzard. Is Blizzard 5 or 6? I can't quite remember. Either way, it's stealth, so it's not going to be doing loads. Ooh, down goes a secret. What could that be? 2 damage, another 2 to the face. There we go, and another 2, but up buffs our thing, even though we've taken a lot of damage. Right, we probably want to get rid of that Gnomish Inventor if we can, but I think I'm just going to go straight with a Belcher. Ooh, when your opponent... Oh, a Mirror Entity. Should I have played into that with something else? Blizzard 6. Good call. Oof. Then goes a Polymorph. Now there, I did not play around the secrets. I could have gone for him smaller minion. And now suddenly we're in a nasty position. We can use this to remove the tank, but he's put us in nasty... Oh, there's the Ironbark. Imp Master next to set up a Savage Roar. I think that's a very smart play. We could armor up, and we could take a risk with a Shattered Sun Cleric into... I'm going to do this to start the ball rolling. I do offer him that trade, but I just want to see if I can get this table under control. Ooh, a blizzard of horror, putting a big crimp in my well-made plans, and that could well be game. Can I even survive? Yes, I can. I can get an Ironbark down. I would have waited with the Shade and Stealth. Yes, it would have still been threatening. That is a good option. We'll see how well it works out, because I can Ironbark next turn. Down goes a Frostbolt. He can trade into that with a minion and then start tapping away with similar and such. Does he have another Fireball in hand? 4 mana. Charging in for 2. We're really just hanging on in. I'm hoping for no polymorphs. Down goes our Ironbark. We are hanging on in by the skin of our teeth. We have damage. We can start picking these away. Acolyte can draw, can mana up. Fireball goes in. Oh! And this mage has drafted very nicely. Look at that 2 removal. Down goes a Feng Creeper. That's going to be incredibly hard to remove from the table. And having been Salt Domestic, game 1, game 2, we're now going for Pain. Right, Wild Growth, Savage Roar. What can I do here? I'm going to take 4 next turn. There's no point in Savage Roaring. I'm not going to be able to remove that tank. Wild Growth, I may as well safe in the card. I think that it's just a question of throwing stuff on the deck. Ooh, we are dancing on the edge of pain. Ooh, and with a Sunwalker turn. Oh, the pain, the horror. Right, hey you optimists. Right, if we Savage Roar. If we Savage Roar. Yeah, I'm going to Wild Growth. Why not? Wild Growth into an excess mana. Oh, Starfire. No, I don't have a Seeds. Before I Starfire, I don't think there was no point Stormwinding there. Voodoo Doctor. 2 health is not going to help us. Could have Starfire, Strangleform Tiger. For removing the 1. It's only if he blizzards or something that you can remove that. That is removable. So we're just going to take the risk. Oh, there we go. Lethal. Remove it. Ah, the pain. The pain. There we go. Oh, dinged with a Druid. Golden Wild Growth. How exciting's. So, thank you. That's going to be it for our episode this evening, but 1 win, 1 loss. I do like this deck. Very nicely played. So, thank you so much for tuning in. We've drafted... So what happened there? Well, we had a really nice first game where we managed to grab our concepts, get control in the early game, and then finish and keep really sort of table control with all our taunts. This last game against the mage, we were going to be, we had a reasonable start, but then with the polymorphs, with a very excessive fireball in the early game, gave the mage tempo, and we thought it was a waste, using a 6 damage fireball on a 2 health minion. But he then proceeded to slowly get under control and was throwing down a lot of cards that we wanted to throw down, and he had tempo against us, so we were sort of trying to pick up as we could as we went along, but really we were always 1 step behind with all of the various cards. So 1-1 start. We will try and continue that at a different time of the week. All that remains to say for this evening is, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. If it's the first time that you've joined us, why not come and visit youtube.com/FailCraft Casts. If you're watching live, you can see our whole archive of vids there. If you're watching on YouTube, come join in live, twitch.tv/FailCraft Cast. Wonderful bunch of people in chat. Really nice to chill with and have a bunch of fun picking this and similar things. And of course we try and go live 5 nights a week. You can see our rough schedule there, UK time. We will always tweet on @FailCraftCast when we're going to go live with hours in case you're trying to work out your time zone. So no problem there. And then last but not least, the website failcraft.org. You can find a whole bunch of articles, all of the old videos, and some stuff that does not live so well in a video, articles, links, and such like. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully see you tomorrow night for Arena Wednesday if you're watching live. Arena Wednesday, Ladder Wednesday. We're going to be laddering and having some fun, or continuing with another night soon. Take it easy.